You walk into the room, toss your keys down, and glance over at the perch. Everything looks totally ordinary. Your bird is exactly where you left them. Maybe they make a little sound, maybe they don't. You head into the kitchen, start your evening, and the moment just passes without any real ceremony. But in the half second before you looked up, the exact millisecond your foot crossed that threshold, something happened that you completely missed. The tiny feathers along your bird's spine made a micro adjustment. Barely a shift, really. It's the kind of movement that happens way below conscious behavior, right in that deep layer where the body reacts before the mind even finishes processing. Their pupils changed. Their weight redistributed across their feet. A specific set of muscles that have been holding a certain tension ever since you left a tension so constant the bird had basically stopped registering it, suddenly released. You didn't see any of it. You just saw a bird on a perch looking perfectly normal. But what actually happened in that split second was the biological equivalent of a held breath finally exhaling. And it happened entirely because of you, because you walked through the door. And honestly, that is only the beginning of what your bird has been quietly doing all along. Here's what's really going on, and it requires you to completely flip how you think about this whole relationship. See, you probably think you're the one doing the observing. You watch the bird. You learn their moods. You study their behavior and try to figure out what they want. That's the frame most of us operate from, and it feels true because, well, we're the ones with the brains capable of building that kind of narrative. But here's what most people don't realize. Your bird has been running a continuous diagnostic on you since the very first day you shared a room. Not just occasionally, not just when they're curious, continuously. To a creature whose ancestors survived by reading the bodies of other animals at high speeds and from far away, you aren't just a person. You are constantly broadcasting biological system. Your posture, your movement patterns, your breathing rate, the micro tension in your face, all of it is pure data, and it's all being processed in real time by a nervous system that evolved specifically to pull survival-critical information from exactly those kinds of inputs. Think about what it actually costs a prey animal to look at something directly. Full focus attention is vulnerable attention. When a bird locks its gaze on you, not a sideways glance, not a quick threat assessment scan, but deliberate, sustained focus, they are temporarily reducing their peripheral vigilance to do it. It's a calculated trade. They've decided that the information they get from watching you closely is worth the momentary drop in awareness of everything else around them. This is the part people miss. That is not a casual gesture. It's a choice. And what it reveals is that you, specifically, are considered worth the risk. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because the intelligence behind all of this goes way further than you've ever imagined. Your bird knows your schedule, and I don't mean approximately, I mean specifically. The exact sequence of sounds you make when you're getting ready to leave in the morning, it's completely filed and indexed in your bird's mind. It knows them so well that it actually begins its behavioral response before you've even finished the routine. The particular rhythm of coffee being made versus keys being grabbed versus a bag being lifted, these aren't just random sounds. To your bird, it's a language. And honestly, it's been fluent in it for a lot longer than you realize. Researchers who study how these birds adapt their behavior have documented something they call routine mirroring. It's the way a closely bonded bird completely synchronizes its own activity cycles to the movements of its favorite human. When you're active, it's active. When you settle, it settles. But when something in your morning sequence goes out of order, like if you skip a step, leave earlier than usual, or just move around with a different kind of energy, the bird registers that deviation before you've even consciously realized you made one. This isn't trained behavior. You can't train a bird to notice the specific tilt of your head right before you walk out the door. It just learned that, all on its own, because it's been paying a quality of attention to you that most humans never pay to anything in their entire lives. So, the next time you catch your bird just watching you while you move through a room, understand what you're actually looking at. You are looking at a mind that has completely memorized you. But here's the part nobody tells you, and it goes way deeper than just a daily routine. They don't recognize you the way one human recognizes another. They've built something much more precise than simple recognition. They have built a blueprint. Your footstep has a specific acoustic signature, the weight, the rhythm, the surface contact. Your bird can distinguish that sound from every other footstep it has ever heard. It doesn't just think, oh, that sounds familiar. It distinguishes it as you, specifically you, as a completely separate category from every other human being on Earth. Even your breathing, when you're sitting near the cage in the quiet, has a resting rhythm your bird has filed away. A tiny change in that rhythm, if it gets faster, shallower, or takes on that specific pattern of hidden stress registers instantly. It doesn't just hear a change in sound, it registers a change in you. Your silhouette, the exact geometry of how your body occupies space. It's all processed completely separately from how any other person moves. A new haircut, a bulky winter coat, a hat, these things register as glitches in the blueprint. It causes a brief recalibration, just a split second of mild alert, before all the other signals confirm it. Same footstep, same rhythm, same energy. Still you. You see, you aren't just a human to your bird. You are a category of one. Now flip this around, because here is where the relationship becomes something else entirely. Your bird doesn't just know your schedule or your silhouette. It literally knows your internal weather. Think about it. The micro movements of a stressed human body are completely different from a calm one. It's subtle to us, but it's totally obvious to a nervous system that's designed to read bodies at high speed. Muscle tension completely changes how you move. Elevated cortisol actually alters the acoustic properties of your voice. Things another human might totally miss, but a bird picks up on instantly. Even the specific stillness of being exhausted reads differently than the stillness of just being content. Your bird has cataloged every single one of these states. It has a mental model of what you feel like when you're actually okay, and it knows the exact second that model doesn't match what you're currently broadcasting. This is exactly why a closely bonded bird will sometimes move closer to you on a rough day without any invitation at all. They aren't trained to do it. They are hungry, and they aren't looking for attention in the usual way. It's because your nervous system is putting out a signal it has learned to respond to. It's a deviation from your calm baseline, and it triggers something in them that, whatever you want to call it, looks a lot like concern. The bird that comes to sit near you when you're quietly struggling isn't just performing. It's responding to information you didn't even know you were sharing. And here's what's actually happening underneath all of it, deep in the architecture of the avian brain. Every single expression of affection your bird has ever shown you, the feather lean, the slow pupil expansion, the way they deliberately present their neck for scratches, or that quiet contact call from across the room, none of it is random. None of it is simple either. They are investments. These are calculated, neurologically expensive decisions made by a brain running continuous cost-benefit analyses on every single social behavior it produces. Think about it. To offer the neck for preening means going temporarily blind in a very vulnerable direction. To make a soft contact call means using a vocal signature that, in the wild, could easily attract a predator. To sit close enough for physical contacts dramatically reduces the reaction time they have if something goes wrong. Each of these behaviors costs them something, and the only reason your bird pays that cost over and over again in your presence is because its brain has gathered enough evidence across hundreds of interactions through months or years of data to conclude that the return on that investment is reliable. Your consistency, your gentleness, the specific quality of your presence over time, these things aren't just appreciated in some vague emotional way. They are stored, filed away, weighted against every single negative experience that bird has ever had. And the result of all that weighing, expressed in every tiny gesture of closeness, is a verdict. This one is worth it. And now we're at the final layer, the one that honestly changes how everything else lands. Your bird is, at its core, a wild animal. I don't mean that metaphorically either. Genetically, neurologically, instinctually. It's a creature whose entire biological architecture was built for a world where getting too close to another species usually ends in death. Every single survival system it carries says, keep your distance, keep your options open. Don't trust anything that isn't part of the flock, and yet, it chooses you. It's not because it forgot what it is, and it's definitely not because captivity has erased its instincts. It's because the sheer accumulated weight of your relationship has been strong enough and consistent enough to completely override the deepest programming in its nervous system. This matters. When your bird leans against you, or when it closes its eyes while you're right there, or makes that low, soft little sound it saves only for you. It's not showing you that it's become domesticated. It's showing you that you have become, in the most absolute way its ancient brain can understand, safe, not just familiar, not just useful, safe. And for a prey animal, that's a category that sits right next to sacred. So go back to that doorway for a second. The keys on the table, that totally ordinary glance you give toward the perch, you probably thought nothing was happening right then. But now you know that a held breath was just released, a blueprint was matched. You know that a nervous system running non-stop threat assessments concluded in the split second before you even looked up that the world was okay again, just because you walked in. That is what love looks like when it belongs to a creature that evolved to survive, not to perform. It's quiet, it's precise, and it's hidden deep in the body before it ever even reaches the face. 7 different ways, all running at the exact same time, every single time you walk through that door. Here's what I want to know. Think about that one tiny thing your bird does that you've always sort of noticed but never really been able to explain. That specific moment, or that weird little gesture that just doesn't seem to fit into any normal category. What is it? Let me know in the comments. Because I think after today you finally have the language to understand what it actually means.